Good morning. This morning I was reading in a book called Principles by Ray Dalio, this little bad boy right here. And it's a fabulous book. I'm not done with it, about a third of the way through. And it's interesting. It's another very successful, Ray's a very successful business owner, built a company called Bridgewater, and he's retired from it now. I guess it might be a way to say that. And so he's written a book, and it's covering the principles that he developed, principles of business, principles of life that he developed over the course of his career. And it's fantastic. But when I first started, I'm like, okay, another successful CEO who built a really impressive company, made a ton of money, had a ton of impact, and retired, and is now sharing his wisdom with us. Kind of standard. That's how these books get written. And they're great, but we just hear from the winners. So that's how I started thinking about this. Okay, maybe this just falls into success literature again, which I don't find super compelling. You know, how to win, how to accomplish, and we just eat that kind of stuff up. But as I started to unpack the book and read my way through it, I'm like, okay, there's more here. There's a lot here. It's actually really, really good. So it is success literature in some ways, but he's actually unpacking things he's learned along the way that are very transferable to all our lives. You don't have to be a Fortune 500 CEO to put these principles into practice, and those are good principles. As I'm reading through, I hit a part this morning where he talks about a period of time, basically the 80s, which were really rough for him, and he actually lost a ton of money. In fact, he came out of it so broke, he says he couldn't even afford a plane ticket to get to a client meeting where he would clearly be able to, if he closed the deal, be able to recoup the cost of the plane ticket plus a lot more if he closed his client, but he didn't have the cash to buy the ticket. That's how broke he was. So it's pretty rough. And then he breaks down the things he learned during that really tough period of time, and it's his failures. And he says, I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't gone through that. And in fact, every successful person he's ever worked with has gone through things like that. And that's true. That's one of the big, huge arcs of success literature. But it feels to me like it's a section of the book. But if you listen to the words, I wouldn't be who I am today without that experience. Why is it only a section? Why aren't those experiences celebrated in a more profound way? Why do we celebrate the learnings, but not the way in which we learned? Why do we celebrate the success, but not the process that brought us there? Why do we celebrate the breakthrough instead of the break? It's in every story that I value. The dark night of the soul, the valley of the shadow of death. In fact, often it's death itself in some form. The suffering that we all will experience. And if you haven't yet, you will. Learning how to deal with that feels to me like it's more important than the results of that, which we often call success. I don't know how often we actually want to suffer. And I know that we probably shouldn't go looking for it because it will find us. But when I think about the people that I run into that are only looking for the successes or only reading for the wins or always hunting the breakthroughs or the the pinnacle experiences, those moments when it all makes sense, and not willing to actually engage in the learnings around death and suffering, like really dig into that. I don't know if I have a ton of respect for that perspective, the success only perspective. Well, I know I don't have a ton of respect for it. I don't know if I have any respect for it, but I'm open. So it's a section of the book. I don't know if he's going to keep coming back to it or not, because I'm only a third of the way through. So jury's out. We'll see. And I do know that I like his learnings. But really exploring that part of his life would have been, I think, a more interesting book. Probably a lot harder book to write. Probably a lot, well, I know a lot more vulnerable. And I don't know that it would have sold. So I get it, Ray. It's a great book. Good job. But can we as a community look for those places where we see people who were broke in, and then broke through, and really start to understand, what does it mean to fail? Now, to be clear, I don't think I'm any better at this than anybody else. I don't think I'm out doing my best failures right now. In fact, I think I'm just as afraid of it as anybody and doing what I can to avoid it. But if failure isn't fatal, and in fact, failure is data, why aren't we tracking that data better? Hmm. Maybe we could have a dialogue about that in the comments. Have a great day.